Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here for this wonderful talk that we'll be having today. So that we titled Scaling AI, How Deploying Responsible AI Can Accelerate Adoption, because we all know, and I think we've all heard that on VivaTech, that AI adoption is probably one of the key stakes that we need, or key challenge that we'll have to cope with in the next couple of years. So to introduce this panel, I wanted to provide some figures, probably to put into action the value that we expect from AI. So the global AI market is projected to grow from 241 billion US dollar in 2023, so which is a quite big figure. Discussing with people on VivaTech, I guess we're not there yet, although there are proof of concept that have been deployed in organization. So this panel is an opportunity to explore the challenges of deploying AI at scale, and especially address it from a specific perspective, which is to deploy it in a responsible manner. So welcome to our panelists, Ange Ferrari, who is a group CISO of Metro, Thomas Degardin, who is a global CISO of Pernod Ricard, Evan Bourgoin, COO of Mindflow, and last but not least, Sophie Dionnet, SVP Product and Solutions at Dataiku. So probably I wanted to, before kicking off the questions, I wanted to provide another statistic on how we feel mature about AI adoption on the market. So only 1% of business leaders, according to a PwC study, consider that the deployment of AI in the organization has reached maturity, which is quite a low figure. So we've tried at PwC as part of this study to identify who are the AI champion. And there are basically two characteristics that have been identified. One is the level of investment. They heavily invest. Actually, they invest 5 times more than the others. And the second characteristics is about their engagement. So they engage the organization into a broad transformation. So I thought it was interesting to get to have this perspective to kick off the conversation. So probably turning to you, Ange. I know you have engaged such a transformation at Metro. So can you share your perspective on the market's maturity from your lenses and the challenges you observe in scaling AI?
Yeah. Thank you for the question, and thank you for welcoming me in these discussions. I think we are, from my point of view, ahead of big revolutions, and we just start to see it and to be able to perceive this tsunami that will impact all organizations and their process and the organizations itself in all these aspects. In terms of maturity, as we are at the beginning, I can't say we are in front of us. We have a very mature industry. We see every day new things being published, new models, new way to interface systems and agents between them. Things become standard, while before it was taking years to standardize things. So the maturity is not there, but it's very exciting because at the end, you see that things are evolving very quickly in a non-very structured manner very often, but that gives you a lot of opportunity to be able to move with that. And that's how we see that today. As a big corporation, because we are a large organization, it's sometimes a bit scary because you say, okay, it's going to break all our process where we want to welcome these innovations. We do not have the flexibility and the speed for that. But at the end, we also see that the actors have taken very quickly to become mature, to be able to adopt that. So it's very early in stage of maturity, but we see the speed at which the companies, the startups are able to scale, which gives us some confidence in the fact that as large corporations will be able to address that and adapt these new evolutions very quickly also.
Thank you, Ange. And can you, just to follow up on this question, can you give us probably some examples of use cases you've been deployed and that you have turned into let's say, a transformative approach within Metro?
Yeah, so with some caveat, because as I said, we are also us in the early stage of that, but as many companies, we started by exploring any type of GPT type of things with retrieval augmented documentations that will allow, or generation that will allow us to reuse data, reuse standard operating procedure, reuse corporate knowledge to help our colleagues. So this is with what we started. But then we answered existing things around product recommendations, for example, where we are today part of what you can find online in our areas produced by AI mainly and not by humans, or enriched with the help of AI. And the things we are currently exploring is around automations of business processes that require analysis of data or analysis of documents, and today are handled by humans, where we think, and we see already results from a productive perspective, that it brings some results where we can leverage AI and the new models around interpretations of data and so on to help us in taking business decisions with the fastest speed that we need today to be able to develop the ideas we have.
Thank you very much, Ange. So switching to another perspective, the one from you, Thomas. Probably the same question. What's your perspective on the market maturity? Are you sharing the same view as Ange? I know you're friends, so please feel free to challenge him a little bit. So yeah, give us your view on the maturity or your perception of the maturity.
Thank you, Jamal. Yes, we are friends, but we can argue also. No, I will not rephrase what Ange said about the wave that is coming. First of all, I think we need to do AI to have a good data. It's really important, and we have, I would say, a chance at Pernod Ricard. We have a lot of brands, a lot of data about customers. So that's help us to develop some AI capabilities. Like you, we start with an internal GPT to help our colleagues to improve their productivity. But also we develop some AI capabilities in sales and marketing, help our sales workforce to choose the right and the best sales methodology to sell the right brand to the right consumer in the right place. Follow the effectiveness, the effectiveness of promotion or of a marketing campaign. We also develop a lot of AI capabilities in HR system, mainly for people management, to track their career, to help them to develop new competencies. And last but not least, one AI capability that I discovered recently, just for information, I joined Pernod Ricard 5 months ago, so I'm still quite new. I think all of us, all companies, try to forecast what will be the best product in 3 months, next year, in 2 years, to be the best place to win the future market. In our sector, in our business, we build beverage, spirits that mature, that age in cask for 5, 10, 20 years. So when you are preparing your blend and you put it in the cask, you bet in 20 years, this mix will be the winner in 20 years. So AI help us and help our mixing, our blender master to choose the best blends, the best spirit, to be sure that we will produce the right brands, the right spirit in 20 years. And another example, if you are a fan of a specific whiskey with 20 years of age, every year you want to have the same experience. You don't want year by year to have a different feeling. So we also use AI to help our maître de chai, our blender master, to be sure that they produce the same alcohol year after year with the same quality.
Thank you, Thomas, for this example of use cases. So I feel like, so getting back to this transformation perspective, that there are key success factors that we need to have in mind when we launch all these initiatives. But there are also risks related to the adoption of AI. So I have two additional questions for you. One, what are these key success factors, and what's your perspective on the different risks that we need to cover? And have you do you have some examples of use cases where we had some unexpected results because of AI?
Yes, good question. Yeah, first of all, to scale our AI testing, we do a lot of testing, and only few, less than 15 cases are going to scale. So they cover 80% of Pernod Ricard brands and business. We have to test to find the right, I would say, the right use cases. We can't use AI for anything. We'll come back to that later. And yes, we also identify another risk, as you suggest. The spirit sector, the spirit industry is by default intermediated. We don't sell the spirits directly to the consumer. You go through a customer, retailer, big retailer in France, wherever in the world, and then they sell the bottle to our consumers. And few years ago, in the past, our potential, or prospect, or potential customers ask their favorite, I would say, search engine, what is the best whiskey in the world, what is the best brandy, and so on. And we have been able to decrypt the algorithm of the popular search engine to push our brands at the top level. Then there is some marketplace. We work with them to push our brand, but now we are in front of a black box. We don't know what is the algorithm. We don't know what is the data used to train this algorithm. So we have discovered that some GPT, not ChatGPT, some GPT, some AI capabilities, when you ask what is the best whiskies in the world, there is no brand of Pernod Ricard. I don't say that we are the only one. There is also good whiskey for opponents, but we required an impartial, an ethical AI to be sure that the answer provided to the customer is ethic and impartial.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Before shifting gears to the solution providers, I wanted to have your view on this ethics question, because I know you have also some experience in that perspective.
Yeah, so definitively, and especially with the use of GenAI and the fact that you enable people to interact with a machine and to get an answer, that this answer could be plausible but not necessarily accurate, or can bring people or put people in a direction that you don't want as a company or as a citizens to put these people in. So it's definitively something that we are looking at, and for which we are very cautious about what are the use cases that we are interested in, what are the potential pitfalls that we can see, or the inaccuracy that can be spit out by the models, that will, from a point of view, from a company standpoint of view, will put us or in a position where we have some liability. And let's say, for example, when you are, and there are some cases where an AI has recommended a wrong price for an object or for a product that the company was selling, and then as a company you are liable because you have to fulfill what the company give as a price to the customers, even if you lose money on it. So that's the type of things we are concerned about. And in a more open world, where when we use AI, for example, in our business, when we want to use a Gen AI, for example, to give us ideas of recipes for new dishes that could be cooked by people in a restaurant, for example. Let's say suddenly the AI spit out that you can use Javel or any type of alcohol to clean your kitchen into the recipe because it's a nice ingredient. So that's the type of things we are looking at, and that from an ethical point of view, we are really looking, not in a way we are scared about it and say, okay, that's very dangerous, but in a way that's limits we know, we are aware of, and that we need to understand. The other aspect from an ethical point of view is that there is a notion of being able to explain if a decision has been taken by an algorithms. Because at the end, if this decision leads to you, because of your first name, is having a discount on a product, and me because my name or because my location I don't have the same discount, and I don't understand, is it fair, is it unfair? And that's the type of things we are looking, and the type of considerations we have every time we think about enabling new businesses, enabling new processes powered by any type of AI, no matter what it is. what are these ethical rules we have to follow and to apply to be sure that we live our promise to ourselves and the promise that we have for our customers.
Thank you, Ange. So shifting gears to the solution providers that I was mentioning. So probably to get your perspective, Evan, on, so we hear a lot about algorithmic transparency, so which basically is the concept of getting to know what's inside the box so that we don't have black box, as Thomas mentioned. So how Mindflow is embedding this conversation with clients, and how you manage actually this challenge, because I guess you have a lot and more clients who ask these kind of questions.
Yes, so first, very happy to be here. Passionating subject, so we have 30 minutes, so I'm going to try to make it as concise as I can. But first, I want to say that from all the conversations we're having with customers, it's still, we've been doing AI for 30 years, but agents, AI in production, etc., at least generative AI, it's kind of new. You know, like people are kind of trying some use cases around, I don't know, ticketing, RAG, etc. But we're not yet with like full enterprise automation with agents everywhere, etc., etc. Because actually, yes, we're looking at what responsible means, what are the ways to control. There's something that I think is true is that yet we cannot audit what are the data sets of OpenAI or, you know, Anthropic, etc. So we don't have control over that. So Mindflow, what we do, so we're an automation orchestration platform. We deploy AI agents at enterprise scale to basically automate tasks that humans are doing behind computers, clicking buttons. Okay, so that's what I automate. We connect with 4,000 APIs, so everybody here, to automate tasks at IT, security, sales, HR, etc. And so the way that we're doing this today is having in the system way to understand, for instance, having logs, having versioning, having the capacity to say, okay, what's my input in the agent, what's my output from the agent, and to open the hood to see like what's the data actually, not just like a, you know, Copilot black box where you say, do this, you have a result, and you're like, what happened? You don't know what happened in the middle. And so what we do with our customers today, so we have, you know, like LVMH, Uniqlo, Colas, Bouygues as customers in security, infrastructure. We put agents in production, but first we try them, you know, I don't know, 10,000 times to check that, you know, we have the same output for the same input. And we have some form of safety from each agent. But then I want to ask you a question, like, what do you mean by responsible? So large. What's your angle, actually? If I can ask you the question.
You can. We can take 30 more minutes and then to discuss. But the simple way to frame it is really to consider all risks related to the adoption of AI. So I think we mentioned a couple of them. We mentioned, actually we've not mentioned that much, even if we have two group CISOs in the panel. Cybersecurity is one of them, but data integrity, ethics, data transparency. So all of these aspects are part of what we consider responsible AI.
So that's kind of what you said, Ange, is, you know, transparency, to be able to open the hood, see what happens. But I have a use case from a customer, for instance. They plugged their resume base, so the CV, with a chat of Mindflow, and they can ask in the chat and say, okay, I want to find a profile that did like 10 years of HR and etc. How do you make sure that there's no bias in what the LLM is going to do behind? It's not going to pick somebody because of something specific that you have no control over. So it's not something that Mindflow solved right now. I'm not sure a lot of people have solved it. We're putting ways, which is transparency, the capacity to open the hood, having agents controlling agents. And the most important factor for us is human in the loop. It's not an AI agent that makes a decision. It's a human that validates a proposition of an action by an agent. So always human in the loop.
Thank you very much, Evan. So what's your perspective, Sophie, on this? I know you have also a broader perspective, international perspective, with all what we've seen in the US and China.
Yeah, responsible AI, it's, what's interesting in it is ultimately So out of our 750 customers, for some customers it's very important, for some others it's not the direct point of conversation. We have some customers today for whom alignment between brand positioning and responsible use of AI is particularly important, notably typically with insurers, because for insurance, when they define what is deemed as being a suitable risk to insure or not, it usually corresponds to a very strong ethical principle. And these are conversations that we have seen arising a lot with those who today have made very strong brand-driven positioning on how they intend to use AI. And that was far before Gen AI arose. I think and interestingly, there are, even for those who today are not approaching the matter from a direct, ethical, responsible angle, ultimately it's still the same considerations. It's the question of trust, it's a question of explainability, it's a question of traceability, and so on and so on. And I think on our role from a vendor standpoint is to make sure that we equip our customers with all the right type of tooling to be able to address these considerations and also basically align outcomes to their own considerations. What I mean by that is for a customer for which it's particularly important to be able to, one of the most interesting examples in the past was a telco vendor, they're not a customer by the way, it was a prospect, saying how do I make sure that I don't apply discrimination to my pricing principles for people who are above 65? If I'm above 65, my likelihood to change providers is usually minimum, so my propensity score remains very high, and usually I'm not going to be very nice to you from a marketing standpoint because why should I? And it's very true from an algorithmic standpoint. And at some point, it just becomes a business decision of do you do something intentionally always nice to young people because you know they're more volatile? Do you at some point make it a brand positioning that you're going to be applying the same type of discounts for people who might not have the same type of volatility? That goes far beyond what anything else can happen, beyond decision making. And so going back, and I echo everything that was said, is I think it's more aligning the capacity to have the right type of decision making mapped out to what is being enforced. Now, going back to your question, when we look at our different markets, we clearly do not have the same conversation in all different markets. There's not the same type of concerns and tied, I think, deeply to how people consider data. We all know that in the US, access to data, usage of data is very different. We see our pharma customers doing things that clearly would not be deemed as being acceptable from a European standard or APG standards. But at the end of the day, they still ask themselves exactly the same questions. And I think it's just a question of finding the right entry point to linking it all back to what ultimately is what drives us in those types of roundtables. How do we make sure that people are equipped with understanding how they use AI, and how do this initial cornerstone serves the question of trust for scaling?
Thank you very much, Sophie. So as we are running out of time, it's a passionate conversation, and I really recommend that we follow up this conversation afterwards. So I think we have a couple of minutes. I'm looking to take some questions in the audience. Are there any questions? So yeah, just to probably follow up and drive to the conclusion. So I think all what we mentioned are clear illustration that AI's maturity is still quite low, although we are making a lot of buzz, although there are a lot of proof of concepts going on. So it seems that responsible AI is clearly one of the key success factor to make adoption in the next couple of years, and this is something that both organizations and startups have to work together to make it work. So I wanted really to thank you all for your contribution to this panel. So please give a big round of applause to our panelists.
Thank you.